This is your local election headquarters.
Welcome back. Before heading into the special crime session promised by the governor, one state senator is trying to bring attention to human trafficking. Capitol reporter Shannon Hecht explains what her plans are for future legislation.
Senator Beth Mizell has been a supporter of human trafficking victims for years. Through her task force, she hoped to find ways to make sure traffickers are prosecuted.
I know when East Baton Rouge said there was only 33 cases that were prosecuted in 10 years, that's really incredible.
With inconsistent reporting issues, agencies having different definitions of victims, and traffickers often being allowed lesser charges, Mizell is still looking for answers.
We've got to put a value as a state on the way we treat women who are victimized and not turn a horrendous trafficking into a pandering type situation. We've got to call it what it is.
The Franklinton Republican has brought legislation in the past to also track rape kits in the state crime lab. Bills she hopes to bring in the special crime session would focus on helping victims of assault.
There's a lot of obvious gaps in prosecution and the way we treat victims of sexual assault.
The Human Trafficking Task Force also revealed the need for law enforcement to flag possible trafficking victims who have been arrested for other crimes to get them the resources they need. The special crime session is anticipated to be called in the coming week, with it taking place in late February. For your local election headquarters, I'm Shannon Hecht.
A mistrial declared in the federal lawsuit filed against the Baton Rouge Police Department over the treatment of protesters following the death of Alton Sterling. You might recall in the summer of 2016, Sterling was shot and killed during a struggle with two BRPD officers. That sparked tense and at times chaotic protests near the police department, resulting in multiple arrests. The police department and individual officers were accused of violating the First and 14th Amendment rights of some of the protesters arrested there. Thursday, the jury said it couldn't determine if the use of force by officers was inappropriate. There are new changes to this year's federal student aid application, and they could delay financial aid to families in the state, and politicians aren't happy. Deshaun Johnson reports.
New FAFSA changes could mean more confusion for schools, families, and the Louisiana Office of Student Financial Assistance, also known as LOSFA.
We knew that there was going to be a challenge with the 24-25 FAFSA because it's so streamlined.
Ebony Holmes with LOSFA says it has become more difficult for families to apply for financial aid because of the new changes.
You are going to be asked at the beginning to give consent to your federal tax information, your FTI, and they do have to give consent. No longer are you able to just start the FAFSA using like date of birth, social. Everybody has to have that FSA ID set up, and it has to be verified.
Holmes says that entire process could now take 2 to 3 days. Another big issue, she says.
They no longer take into account if there are multiple siblings in college at the same time.
Meanwhile, the U.S. Department of Education says the new system is easier, and they have received positive feedback from many families and students. But Holmes says one issue was overlooked.
They didn't account for inflation. And so they had to go back and adjust those tables to account for that inflation. And that's where this other delay is coming from.
This is also why some Louisiana politicians, including Senator Bill Cassidy, are outraged. He says the changes have created a delay, which has had consequences for families. But Holmes says with the fall semester for colleges approaching, many local areas will offer resources so families can get help.
In the Baton Rouge area, our office is open to do FAFSA completion events. If you're at a high school, our counselors can request that we come out and do FAFSA completion events at their school.
John Johnson reporting there. Congressman Clay Higgins is requesting relief for crawfish farmers and producers throughout Louisiana because crawfish farmers, like Bart Gilbert, says this is the worst season he's seen since he's been in the business. Higgins highlights how the industry stands to lose $140 million. He says that's a significant portion of the state's $230 million crawfish industry.
We get 300, sometimes 400 sacks a day this time of year. This year, if we get 15 sacks a day, we're lucky.
Now, that was Gilbert there. He says because of decline, farmers aren't catching as many this season compared to previous seasons. He says there are farmers who have invested anywhere from $30,000 to $50,000 into preparing for the season and have yet to see a profit. President Biden's pause on new licensing for liquid natural gas exploration receives lots of backlash from part of the Louisiana delegation. That's next. Stay with us.